Something like wrestling, right? We're both wrestling fans. I get it has its flaws and I get it has its detractors. But there's still something about a Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, or an Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, or an Austin versus Rock, or something that goes back 10, 20, 30 years. If the match is truly good, it will stand the test of time. And sometimes you've got to be willing to accept that sometimes a match you thought was trash, you watch back and you go, actually, with context, the Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell is a classic example because every time you rewatch it and every time you hear another commentary track, you learn something new, mind-blowing about that match that makes you go, fucking hell, that was just a match, wasn't it?
But for me, like, I think with the way I watch it, like, I can watch matches for different things.
Sure,
like,
sure.
We all know, like, right, so you can watch a match for how, like, you know, certain wrestlers are gonna sell like fucking crazy. They are gonna make every move look like it is fucking the most death-defying thing you have ever seen in your life. And then you can watch two wrestlers that are gonna sell you a fucking story and paint a picture and give you a backlog of emotion, like hatred. Then you can get the guys that are gonna put on a show which, quote unquote, I hate when people call it flippy floppy wrestling, but I hate it. I think it's evolution. Pull your pants up and grow with the fucking times, man. That is how it is. So, like, you can watch it for that, and like, there's so many different things you can watch it for. But then you'll also get someone who's, what? Grow up, man. It's not even real. Yeah, but I'm not watching it for that. You guys will watch Jason Statham fucking building, kill 900 people, not get shot once, jump through an air vent, hold on to a helicopter, climb up the rope, and that's a good film, but wrestling's fake. Now you guys are gonna watch fucking Expandable jump through fucking 17 train, Fast and Furious are driving cars to space, yeah? But wrestling's fake. Get the fuck out of here, man. Don't tell me that. And I remember, do you know what? I remember when I was a kid, yeah? When I was a kid, I was young. And my granddad, yeah? God rest his soul, R.I.P. He was a fucking film boffin, bro. I'm not lying to you, like, I've never seen anybody in their life have more VCRs than my granddad, yeah? And even when VHS wasn't a thing, yeah? He still had racks and racks and racks of the old black fucking videos, yeah? And there was all movies that he'd recorded off the fucking TV, and movies that he'd just fucking borrowed off people and kept or bought from places, or, you know. And bro, I remember one time he was like, Jordan, why are you watching this fucking bullshit wrestling for? It's all fake. And I'm like, Granddad, you love films. It's just one long fight scene. And he goes, you know what? You're right. And then he sat down and watched wrestling with me from that day going forward, because he saw it for what it is. It's just a movie that's on 3 times a week with a long ass fight scene. Like, just take it for what it is. It's not that deep.
It's live action storytelling. I constantly defend wrestling because I'm always saying to people, listen, look at it this way. Jason Statham, The Rock, fucking name your person, has a director. What's what you talked about earlier. There's an editor, there's a producer, there's a staff runner, there's a showrunner, there's 1,000 people, thousands of people whose job it is to present The Rock as a fucking superhero, and he sometimes doesn't come across as one. Pick a wrestler, Kevin Owens, right? There's a man you met in the street, does not look like a superhero. You watch a Kevin Owens match and tell me that motherfucker isn't superhuman. The things he can do, the athleticism, and this is the big thing, how much goddamn finesse and agility he has for a man of his stature. And you want to tell me it's not impressive?
Perfect example
Keith
as well.
Lee. No one should be able to move like Keith Lee does, given how big he is. And just look at him and tell me he's not charismatic as fuck. And yet,
exactly,
because it's wrestling, it's fake.
Here's another
and
thing. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
yeah?
go for it, my friend.
Sorry to cut you off. Here's another thing. You could not tell me, that Bray fucking Wyatt could not act in any Hollywood fucking production film that's a horror movie or whatever. That's out produced now. It goes both ways. Not only with the fucking natural ability of these guys' athleticism or whatever, like defying fucking gravity and shit that they're doing, like these guys are genuine fucking actors. Like Bray Wyatt, what the fuck? There's certain promos and shit that he's done way back. I couldn't show my fucking child that. He'll have nightmares for the rest of his fucking life. But like they don't get the appreciation that they really deserve, man. It's fucking crazy.
Bray Wyatt's the first wrestler who transcended having to have a wrestling match. He is the first wrestler. If AEW had any kind of brain, that time that they struggle to fill on their extra shows, like their internet-based shows and their after darks before they cut it, and all of this stuff. You have a character like Bray Wyatt, a man with infinite creativity, a gimmick that you can film in any manner of different ways, and it will always be effective, and he never has to wrestle a match to be over. He never has to wrestle a match. He just has to tease that he's going to turn up and fuck up everything. It was what Kane did for years. Name a match Kane had.
Yep.
Right? You can't, because he never had any good ones. What he did do, though, was he turned up at the end of a fucking show, killed everyone, and everyone lost their fucking minds, because he was an unstoppable rage monster. And they ruined him by giving him trousers. 100%. And hair. No! Don't put him in a business suit and give him a mug. Stop!
No, don't. Please don't do that. And that's what frustrates me so much. Bro, it pisses me off so much. Like, I get why Nakamura is at WWE, but at the height he went there at, no fucking way, bro. You should. I pray for the day Nakamura appears in AEW, because I know he will get the fucking respect he deserves.
Put it this way, dude. Here's how I would put this, and you probably already know this, and for people that don't, this is the thing. And I get, if you're not a wrestling fan, this might still not make any sense to you as to why I'm going to make this point. But Nakamura, WWE, never considered a credible threat because of his body type and how big he was. You know he wrestled Brock Lesnar for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship in Japan, right?
100%.
Brock, and this was 2004, 2005 Brock Lesnar. This is before all of the steroid abuse stuff and all of the UFC stuff. This was, my God, next big thing, suplexes everyone, kills everyone, Brock Lesnar, and people bought it. You can't tell me you can't make Nakamura a star in America when he has a gaijin come over, wrestles him with strong style, no less, and it's believable. I'm sorry. Fucking bullshit. Nakamura is a drop ball. I do get animated when I talk about wrestling. I'm sorry for yelling, everybody. But the point is, wrestling is that thing where you go, it just matters about the thought you put into it and the performers that you entrust to enact that story. So long as you can make those two things make sense, an audience will buy it. And even a casual, if you can just say, right, just give it, just like I say, just give it 5 minutes. Don't give it the whole match. Just see if it takes you. Just see if it grabs you.
Yeah.
A good wrestling match will get you. A bad movie, I don't care how much is in the fucking budget. I don't care who's in it. The Old Guard was a movie I watched the other day about a group of immortals. Except for when they're not. What? You've just lost me for the rest of the fucking movie. It's Highlander,
Wait.
except for they can die.
Yeah,
What?
that's mental.
It's stupid. But the point is, you want to say that's fine, that's legitimate, that's believable as an entertainment. Wrestling fake. Get your fucking head out of your ass, man. Sorry.
Yep.
Not buying it.
100%.
Okay, since we've steered the conversation there, let's stay on wrestling for a second, because I've asked you some pretty tough questions so far, some pretty introspective stuff. Let's toss you up a softball, shall we? Let's let you swing at this one a bit.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go nostalgic first. Tell me some evergreen moments in wrestling. Moments that no matter how much time passes, you always look back with fondness. You always like, do you know what? If I see a clip of it on my socials, I'm going to make a point to watch this. The old remote dropper, as it were.
Do you know what, right? There's so many, like, instances I remember, like, and I see clips now, and I think, what the fuck? I actually watched that whole episode of Raw and watched that happen. Like, I watched 3 weeks before to that leading up happening, and I watched fucking 3 weeks after that happened. And know what? There's so many things, yeah, that like stick out in my mind, and there might be a bit quote unquote bait now because there's so many. We're living in a clip era, but for me back then, like watching like 2 hours, an hour and a half of fucking Raw, you know, and then SmackDown, and then running all over trying to watch Heat or whatever the fuck the pay-per-view was. Like, I'd be staying up till fucking 3 o'clock in the morning in my grandma's living room. Like, bro, and there's so many like things that stick out, like big moments. I remember watching Jeff Hardy. It was Royal Rumble. I can't remember what year it was when they had the taxi as the entrance.
Ooh, I want to say 99, but I could be wrong.
Right? They had the taxi as the entrance, and they did the swanton off the taxi through the tables.
And they had the camera from behind as well as underneath.
Yes.
Man.
Bro, I lost my shit. That was one of the moments where I actually popped myself at home. I was like, nah, he's not gonna do it. What the fuck? I remember when what was another good one? I remember when there was teasing Jericho coming for so long, and I was so hooked. What the fuck's happening? Because back then there was no Reddit, there was no Discords, or there might have been, but I didn't have access to them. I didn't have access to none of these forums, these chat pages, none of this. So basically, I saw what happened on Friday or Monday or Thursday, and I had to just wait and then wait for what happened next week. And I remember being so hooked at that moment, thinking, who the fuck is this countdown for? And I remember at the time I used to flirt between WCW and WWF back then. So like I knew Jericho's backlog. I knew about some of his fucking classic. Like I knew what he was like and what he was potentially capable of. And then when he turned up, the first promo cuts between him and The Rock, unreal. Shane McMahon getting suplexed like fuck.
That is one of those moments, isn't it, that you watch back and it never gets easier to watch, where you're like, oh no, he's got another 3 to go. Oh, no.
Getting suplexed back alive. Like, bro, what? I remember the whole Eddie Guerrero, China, fucking that whole storyline, fucking brilliant. Latino Heat, Alaya Cheetah Steel, that whole gimmick there was fucking so memorable for me as a kid. I remember the Brood, memorable. Back then, like, I think that era of wrestling, like, nostalgia-wise, the tag team divisions were so stacked. There were so many different. It was so faction heavy. There were so many. If you want in a faction, you was a mid-carder or a jobber. Everybody that had a name that was selling merch, putting asses in seats, was all faction heavy. And I remember it being so like cliche. If you liked Nation, you couldn't like DX. If you like it was so nostalgic to the point where I remember asking my mum for these fucking DX t-shirts for Christmas, and I've chose my side. That's it now. I fucking hate Baruch. I hate D'Lo Brown. I hate Mark Henry. And bro, it was so good. Oh, bro, there was so much they could do back then that they can't. Like, imagine now putting on TV, yeah? Just imagine this. Now, WWE letting Randy Orton push somebody down the stairs in a wheelchair. Not gonna happen. Imagine Triple H turning up at Randy Orton's house with a sledgehammer, throwing him through his living room window.
Imagine Brock Lesnar being fed a one-legged, 100-pound man. But let's up the ante, guys, because that's not offensive enough. Let's have his mum in the front row while her son's being murdered by this 300-pound snowman. Like, no, you'd never get that on television today. Not even close.
Fucking. Do you remember when Rey Mysterio was on the fucking the stretcher and he got picked up and hit against the fucking
It was that
ring
Big Show,
post?
I seem to remember, wasn't it?
Yeah,
When he
Big Show,
literally
yeah.
has no way to defend himself. No way. And he's just thwack. And then he drops him on his face. Nope. Not going to happen.
Another
happening
thing
for me, brother.
I remember when Paul White first came to WWE to the cage match. I was like, what the fuck is this? Because I remember, like, it was so good how they did it. Like, even though you'd seen these people in WCW, it just seemed different. Seeing them on a WWF screen, it seemed fucking weird.
Seemed another
Seeing
world.
Booker T.
Yeah.
But seeing Booker T come out, seeing Dean fucking Malenko, seeing Eddie Guerrero, seeing Chavo Guerrero Jr., like, seeing all these fucking guys. But then there was also like other wrestlers that didn't come straight away, and then there was a question mark over, are we ever going to see Goldberg versus Stone Cold? No, fucking not. Because they're fucking boring. That should have happened so much way back. And Undertaker Sting. What? How did the fucking... What?
We got Mark Calloway versus Steve Borden. If that's any good to you.
Don't.
Not buying that.
No.
Still Ginger,
No.
Mark Calloway versus Surfer Sting.
I don't want it.
No.
I don't want it.
No, you don't want that?
No.
It's
Nah.
what we've got at home, and that's all you're getting.
Like, bro, there's so, like, and even though I was happy because then there was obviously the dream matchups, like I was saying before, Jericho and Rock. Fucking match made in heaven. Jericho with fucking anybody at that point. And then he turned into a reborn fucking star because he just ran with that. Right up to where, like, when he had the list, him and Kevin Owens. What the fuck? That was brilliant. And that was just giving these guys free reign. Like, Vince, stop being a dick. But yeah, like, that's just a few. Yeah, but even going back further, I remember seeing Shawn Michaels turn on Marty Jannetty. Yeah. And that fucked up my whole childhood. I couldn't trust anyone. I couldn't trust my fucking mum. When that happened, I was young and I was like, what? What? They're not really brothers? Like, what? Like, bro, back then, that shit used to blow my mind. I remember when I first started seeing Yokozuna and I was like, he's killed everybody. He's sat on the chest. Everybody's dead. Like, it was so, like, when you're a kid, it's so realistic, innit? Like, everything in your mind is just like, what the actual fuck just happened? But then it just kept elevating and elevating and elevating to where we are now. And I'm still here for it.
Well, that you kind of touched on one of my next questions, which is the dream match debate is one that will always rage on, especially now with, you know, a lot of the guys who were in that weird period of golden era wrestlers coming back for a one-off that then turned into a year-long program that we were all kind of happy about, but then at the end of the year we were kind of done. A year turned into two turned into three. The question always then, Burns, is like, what are the dream matches that slip by that fans really should have seen or really could have done with seeing? Are there any matches that really stand out to you? I mean, maybe aside from the obvious like Stone Cold Hogan or Sting, Undertaker, or anything along those. I mean, are there any performers that you really, man, if we could have ever put those two in a ring, we'd have seen something fucking insane? Like, is there any names that jump out to you?
Right. So in that case, yeah, but a few of them might have happened when there was Over the Hill, so it hadn't really counted. But a big one for me, I believe that, oh my God, Kenny Omega, Kurt Angle would have been fucking insane. Like, at that though, that match would have been absolutely mental. And that's one that...
Would you not worry about Kurt with those... Question then. Is it in WWE or is it in Japan?
It's in Japan.
Oh, Kurt with those tables, though.
It's Perk Angle. We're going all the way in. Kurt Angle's gonna attempt a double moonsault off the top rope. Kurt Angle. This is where we're going. Oh
man, I can't see. I couldn't handle Kurt going through one of those. Because sorry, let me rephrase that. Because no one goes through a Japanese table. The Japanese table goes fuck you and sends you back where you came from.
That's what you do, the double bounce on the Japanese table.
I'll never forget that when Omega did the Hurricane Rana off the top with oh god, his name's slipping my mind now. Rainmaker. Getting his name now. But anyway, I saw that. And I remember seeing the Hurricane Rana and thinking, he's doing that to the outside. And when they both land on the table, and Kenny, he folds back up on himself and falls over the side of the table. Like, what the fuck do they make them of in Japan? Like, what do you eat off of that's so bulletproof?
They use actual tables. Like, they don't use... No, here's a table that we're gonna make, right? We'll make these for wrestling. They use actual. Oh, have you got a table I can borrow? Yeah, we'll give you it back. It's not gonna get damaged. They use them kind of tables. But like,
yeah, Omega Angle, man. That's a fucking insane pick, man. That's great.
And another one as well. I'd like to. It's a bit demonic and it's a bit sick, but I would like to see where, like Moxley now versus, I'd have to say, I'd have to go with a Cactus Jack McFoley.
That was a match that was teased. That was a match that we almost had.
I wonder where, like, that would have fucking gone. I don't know where Moxley's gonna take it now. Like, this is why I'm not a fan, because I don't get it. Like, you're just doing too much now.
It's a good question. I think time will tell with Moxley, because I think you have to remember with Moxley's they lent on him hard twice between Omega and CM Punk. Like, we need someone to carry this title, and I mean, like, with all due respect to him, like, I don't think anyone expected him to set the world alight. I don't even think he did. I'm just saying though that he was the guy with enough cachet and legitimacy.
In fact, it's so weird you say that, right? Because do you know what I only watched last night?
What's that?
I watched last night in bed for the first time. I watched him drop the title to MJF for the first. It was the first time I watched that match last night, and I saw the whole screw job when he threw the ring in the ring, and you know, and I think the ending was a bit of a squash, but look how much MJF has fucking blown since he won the title that night. Fucking elevates like mad.
Yeah. I mean, I like the promo with Regal, by the way. I'd be curious to see how you... I mean, do you... I'm not... I just feel like the Regal stuff was a bit... I'll tell you what it reminded me of. Do you remember when they had that four-way for the Universal strap after Finn had to drop it because of his injury?
Yeah.
Triple H betrayed Seth to give it to Owens. And then fucking nothing happened with it. And everyone was like, Triple H is going to do a super faction with Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe and another guy. Fucking nothing happened. And it was like that with Regal. It's like, Regal can't ditch Daniel Bryan, John Moxley, Cesaro, and I forget the other guy's name off the top of my head, but that was a sick faction. A sick faction.
Blackpool Combat Club is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to ditch that for
as well.
MJF? What? No! There's no logical sense to that whatsoever. It felt a little... I mean, look, do I buy Regal as a heel? Absolutely. Sniveling and cowardly? Yes. Maniacal? 100%. But there just seemed to be no logic to it. Seemed like a weird one.
No. But to be fair, like, I've been going back and looking at a couple of them matches there, and, you know, it was a good match, but I just thought the ending was a bit... Like I say, I just thought it was a bit of a squash, man. But, yeah, like, there's so many, like I'd like to have seen, like, somebody... I'd like to see what somebody, like, going back to Nakamura, yeah, I'd like to see what he would literally do in AEW, given the free reign to do what he was, to make up some bullshit, which AEW are very good at. They'll make up some bullshit fucking tournament, surprise entrant, Nakamura, here he comes, cleans house, let him be him, title shot, let him take the fucking gum shield out and speak Japanese to these motherfuckers, because they wouldn't care in AEW. Not gonna have him over here speaking fucking broken English, trying to intimidate people with a gum shield in his mouth. Just let Nakamura be Nakamura, man. Sending people out with fucking violins for his entrance and that. Just give him a long red jacket and some theatrical music. Let Nakamura be Nakamura. Well, I don't know, man. I've kind of fallen out with WWE at the minute. It's hanging on by the skin of its teeth. Literal skin of its teeth. But it's been like that for years. Every time I step away, there's always a gimmick that kind of pulls me back in.
Always.
And it's mad. It's mad. But do you remember that time, going back a few years ago? Do you remember when Matt Hardy left WWE?
Yes.
And absolutely elevated his character to the complete next level. Sometimes leaving the company works better for these guys rather than just sticking around and trying to... Who knows? These guys like Dolph Ziggler and shit, maybe they should have just stepped away for a bit instead of just being, okay, Vince.
It's a hard one because the other thing with wrestling is, and I think this sometimes gets lost in translation with artists, sports stars, performers, there are bills, these gimmicks called bills, and some guys just want to make some money, and there's not really anything wrong with that. Kevin Owens is a great example.
You can't blame him at all.
What's that, sorry?
I said you can't blame him at all.
Nope, not. I mean, look, someone like a Dolph Ziggler, if you're right, he could go to Japan, he could go to AEW, he'd have the license to completely reinvent himself if that's what he wanted to do. But maybe he's happy, and he's just like, well, yeah, maybe I'll never be world champion, maybe I'll never get title. But then again, Look at Kofi. Look at Big E. Look at
Yeah.
you know, some of these guys that are getting, like, Seth Rollins has had effectively a title invented for him to give him some shine. Like, there's always room. And I don't blame people who get aggravated with WWE, because some of their stuff is genuinely head scratching. Because even though, let's all remind ourselves, he's only back to oversee the sale that was completed 3 months ago, and he's still there. Vince McMahon is still living off the legacy of a company that he built and forged 2001 that the Monday was. Yeah, so 22 years ago, okay? He's okay to live off that legacy, but creatively, does anyone want to make the argument he has anything to offer? Anything?
No.